Today we are going to look at how to solve multi-step equations. The first thing we want to do, just like in combining like terms, is to apply the distributive property. After we apply the distributive property, we want to combine like terms. And then once you combine like terms, you're going to get all the variables on the left side of the equation. Or the equal side, I guess. Alright, so let's look at number 1. Number 1 is their distributive property. We say yes, so the first thing we want to do is apply that distributive property. So we have 3 times x, which is 3x. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, equals 12. Alright, now we have no terms to combine. We don't have any like terms on the same side, but now we can solve a two-step equation. So we can add 6 to both sides. So we have 3x equals 18. And then to get x by itself, we are going to, let me get my pen back, divide by 3 on both sides, and so we get x is equal to 6. Now we can plug this in to check to make sure it's correct by plugging in what we know. So we'll say 3 times what we just figured out, 6 was x. 6 minus 2 equals 12. So 6 minus 2 is 4. So 3 times 4 equals 12. Well, 12 equals 12, so yes, we did it correctly. Alright, so that was one where we have the distributive property. Now let's see where we might not have the distributive property and what we might have to do. So here, we don't have the distributive property, but we see we have like terms on the same side. Because they are on the same side of the equal sign, we can combine them like normal. So we have 5n and 3n. So let's do 5n plus 3n plus 6 equals 22. So we know to combine like terms, we can add the coefficients. So 5n plus 3 is 8n. So 8n plus 6 equals 22. And now we can solve the two-step equation. So we can subtract 6 from both sides. And we get 8n equals 16. And so when we divide by 8, we get n equals 2. And again, we can check this by plugging in 2 for everywhere we see n and seeing if we get the same answer on both sides. Now let's move on to the third equation. The third equation, we look for the distributive property. We don't have it. Then we see that we have like terms, but they are on opposite sides of the equal sign. When this happens, we have to do the opposite operation in order to combine them. So because I only have one term on my right-hand side, I'm going to add 10m to the other side. And I'm adding all 10m because I want to combine the m's together. So I'm going to add 10m to both sides. So we have negative 10m plus 10m cancels out. Negative 28m plus 10m. Again, we can combine the coefficients. So we have 36 is equal to negative 18m. And now we have a one-step equation to solve. So we can divide by negative 18 on both sides. So we get negative 2 equals m, which is the same thing as m equals negative 2. And again, we can plug that in and solve to see if we got the same thing on both sides of the equal sign. All right, so the last problem we have is when we have this fraction and we have more than one term in the numerator. So when we look at this, there's another way of writing this. We could say this is 2x over 5 plus 3 over 5 because we know that all of the numerator is divided by the denominator. So we have 2x over 5 I think that's a plus 3/5 equals 7. So when we see this, we cannot just subtract 3 first in order to solve for x, but we have to get rid of this denominator first, right, in order to solve for x. So what we can do is we can multiply by 5 on both sides so that we get the numerator by itself. So we have 2x plus 3 is equal to 35. And then we can solve the numerator because it's not tied in with this denominator anymore. So we can subtract 3 from both sides. So we have 2x is equal to 32. Therefore, x equals 16. And again, we could plug that in to check. So what I want you to do right now is pause the video, and I want you to try the practice problems on the back. When you are done, I want you to start the video again and check your answers. Alright, so you should have paused the video. Now we are going to look at our practice problems. So for number 1, we have like terms we can combine. So 6x minus 4x minus x. That'd be 6x minus 5x equals 9. And we can do 6x minus 5x is just x equals 9. All right, let's go to number 5. Number 5, we have to apply the distributive property. So we should have negative 6y plus 14 equals 56. And then we have a two-step equation we can solve, and we end up getting y is equal to negative 7. For number 2, again, we have like terms on the same side, so we can do 7x minus 2x is 5x plus 7 equals negative 13. And then you solve your two-step equation, and you should get x equals negative 4. For number 6, we have 2 steps here. So now we have to do 2 different things while we're solving this equation. So we have terms on the same side. So we have negative x minus x plus 14 equals 38 minus 6x. So negative x minus x gives us negative 2x plus 14, which equals 38 minus 6x. But now we also have our x's on opposite sides of the equal sign. So we need to bring one of them over. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to bring the 6x over, so I need to add 6x. So I should get 4x plus 14 equals 38. Now that I have this, I should solve my two-step equation and get x equals 6. For number 3, we have to apply the distributive property. So let's do 6 times 1 and 6 times 4w. So we have 6 minus 24w equals negative 18. Alright, then we have to subtract 6 from both sides, and we're left with negative 24w is equal to negative 24. Divide by negative 24. Oh. And we get that w equals 1. For number 7, we can combine like terms. So 4/3 w minus 2/3 w is 2/3 w. So 9 plus 2/3, I guess x, not w, x equals 11. We can subtract 9. So we have 2/3 x equals 2. Now we have to multiply by the reciprocal. And we should get x equals 30. Number 4, we have variable or terms on opposite sides of the equal sign. again, so we need to do the opposite operation. So we should have 15x minus 8 equals 27. Now this is a two-step equation, and you end up with x equals, oh no, x equals 7/3. All right, and for number 8, this goes back to when we were looking at the distributive property. Remember when we see this negative out front, this is the same thing as -1 times negative x minus 4 equals 6. So when we distribute that -1, we should get x plus 4 equals 6. Therefore, x equals 2. Now I want you to try one more problem that I put up here. Let me scroll down. So on your paper, I want you to write down 2x minus 6 divided by 3 equals 12. I want you to try this problem. Pause the video, and once you are done, come back to find the answer. Alright, so you should have solved this. The first thing we need to do is get rid of the denominator. Again, this is 2x divided by 3 minus 6 divided by 3. So we need to multiply by 3 on both sides. And we get 2x minus 6 equals 36. And then we can add 6 and get 2x equals 42. Divide by 2, and we get that x is equal to 21. Now that you have gone through the notes, try the practice problems and the games online. If you have any questions, make sure you go back and look at the notes or ask the questions to your teacher.